The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
This week we begin a new book, the book of Bamidbar. And how does it tie into Chag HaShuot? The book of Bamidbar, how does it tie into Chag HaShuot? Well, let's think. Vayikra and Bamidbar. What do we have in Vayikra? In Parshas Emor, George, we have counting days, right? Parshas Emor, we're supposed to count days. Every day is precious, right? And then in Parshas Bamidbar, we graduate from counting days in Emor. Now we're counting people. Days are very precious and important, but what's more important? People. So Parshas Vayikra Emor, we count days to make every day count. But in Parshas Bamidbar, we count the Am Segula. What does Am Segula mean? The treasured nation. Right? So if you take a look at Bamidbar 1:1, just amazing over here. The message of Bamidbar, right before Kabbalah Haftorah, everyone should stand up and be counted. Everyone has to stand up and be counted. So therefore, Bamidbar begins with a count. This parsha is always read right before Shavuos time. All of us must stand up and be counted. God needs every one of us. So it begins with the census and it counts the Jewish people. Why was the Torah giving in a midbar? A midbar means what? A wilderness. The book is called the Wilderness, George. Isn't that a strange name for a book? A wilderness book? You have it by Bamidbar 1:1. Where is that in the English, Yehuda?
727.
727. If you're not using it, you can pass it on. Page 727 of Bamidbar 1. The book is called Wilderness. Why was the Torah given, George, in a wilderness? Which is very strange because Chag Matan Torah is called Chag HaBikurim. What does Chag HaBikurim mean? The festival of the delicious, wonderful first fruits. And the barren wilderness is the opposite of Chag HaBikurim, right, David? Chag HaBikurim, the festival of delicious fruits, where Farmer Goldberg would bring his luscious fruits to wear to the Beis HaMikdash on Chag HaBikurim. It's the Jewish Thanksgiving. So Chag Matan Torah is Chag HaBikurim, a Jewish Thanksgiving, thanking God for the wonderful fruits of Pisgat Zev. So why was the Torah given in a midbar, in a desert? What is the message?
Humility.
That the Jews are the first fruits.
But Chag HaBikurim is the opposite of a barren midbar. It's the opposite. What is the message, George? Our tafkid in life, how do you say that in English? Our goal in life is to transform a spiritual midbar into a beautiful, fruitful land. The world without Torah, Daniel, is like a midbar. Spiritual barren desert. Through the power of Torah, we can take a midbar and transform it into a Gan Eden. But that's what we have to do. Turn our midbar into a spiritual Gan Eden, into a Chag HaBikurim. That's our challenge every year when we have to go through that. That is our challenge. How do we go about turning our personal midbar, our spiritual wilderness, into what? A fruitful land, a Chag HaBikurim, the festival of what? Of delicious fruits. When the farmer would bring his fruits to the Beis HaMikdash was when? Shavuot. How do you do that? Look at the names. The Parsha begins with naming the tribal princes that helped in the count. Now, doesn't God know how many Jews there are, George? We know where you live. So why does God count us? And right before Matan Torah, stand up and be counted? So Rashi wonders. So God knows how many Jews there are. So Rashi says, because He loves us, He's always counting us. When you love somebody or something, you're always counting it. When I was a kid, I knew how many baseball cards I had, Avi. But I used to count them anyway because it made me feel good, even though I knew how many. A rich person knows how much money he has, but he counts it anyway because he loves his money. God loves us, and who loves you, baby? And therefore, He counts to show how much He loves us. Now, why is it important to name the tribal princes who assisted in the count? We know, George, the Torah is GPS. How do you say that in English? God's personal system. Torah is not history book. These guys lived 3,300 years ago. Why are their names important? The Ramban says that a person's mission in life is contained. What's your Hebrew name, George? Yitzchak. It has to go. Person has to go by his Hebrew name, Yitzchak, Ephraim, because the Ramban says that a person's mission in life is contained in his Hebrew name. And look at the names of these princes. Look at Bamidbar 1, Pasuk 5. The prince of the tribe of Reuven. You see that, George? Yitzchak. Can I call you Yitzchak?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. What was his name? And why do I care what his name was? Bamidbar 1, Pasuk 5. His name was Elitzur ben Shideur.
Yes.
Right? Elitzur ben Shideur. What does Elitzur mean? My God is a rock. I am a rock. Lean on me. Elitzur. This man's mission in life was to teach that what? That my God is my rock. God says, lean on me. I'm like a solid as a rock. What was his father's name? Shideur. What does Shideur mean? Yitzchak. Shaddai Or. You light up my life. You give me. Shidei Ur. Shaddai Or. The Almighty lights up my life. What a name. Isn't that incredible?
Beautiful.
But verse 7 is very strange, Yitzchak. Look at verse 7. The prince of the tribe of Yehuda, what was his name? Nachshon ben Aminadab. Now, Aminadab means I volunteer for my people. But why was he called Snake Man? He wasn't an American Indian, was he? Was he an American Indian?
No.
Sitting Bull?
No.
Flying Eagle?
No.
The Dawn, what's it called? The Fawn, the Dawn. He wasn't, right? He was an Israeli. He wasn't an American Indian. Why was he called the Snake Man? Nachshon means a snake man. Is that a strange name for a leader of a tribe of Yehuda? So the answer is, Chav, I'm glad you asked. The Talmud and Sota says that the snake, Yitzchak, whatever the snake eats, tastes like dirt. You give a snake a milkshake, cheesecake, filet mignon, dry salami, whatever. A snake, whatever he eats, tastes like dirt. That's what the Talmud says in Sota. This tzaddik Nachshon taught his mission in life that even though you're supposed to enjoy this world, Hashem gave this world to enjoy. But you have to know that all the pleasures of this world are like dirt when you compare it to what? Olam Haba. Don't be in a hurry to get there, but you have to know, enjoy the world. But keep in mind, said Nachshon, that just like whatever the snake eats tastes like dirt, that all the pleasures of this world, enjoy them, but you have to know when compared to Olam Haba, it's like what? Dirt. Isn't that an amazing message? The names of these people, every Jew is precious. Look what it says, B'mispar Shemot. Look at Yitzchak, Bamidbar 1:20. B'mispar Shemot. See the word mispar? Vahi b'nei Ruvain b'chor Yisrael toldosam l'fchotam lebet avotam b'mispar Shemot. What does that mean, b'mispar Shemot?
Number of names.
Number of names. But we know, Mindel, there are no coinky-dinkies in Hebrew. The word mispar, which means lispor, to count, is the same word as sapir.
To tell a
Sapir means sapphire. B'mispar Shemot, lispor. B'mispar. Every Jew shines like a sapphire. B'mispar Shemot. Every Jew is a precious sapphire to God. We all shine on. B'mispar Shemot. And he keeps repeating that. B'mispar Shemot. Look at Yitzchak, Bamidbar 1, Pasuk 2. Before you get down to Pasuk 20, it's the same again repeated. See that? Bamidbar 1, verse 2, Yitzchak. Suat Rosh Kaladas P'nei Shechotam Lebet Avotam B'mispar Shemot. In the number of the names, again, mispar is related to the word what? Sapir. Sapir. Right before Matan Torah, God says, you are my precious sapphire. Each and every one of you. I treasure and cherish like a sapphire. That's why you read this right before Matan Torah, right? Yaakov, right? Yaakov, you see? Incredible. Right? That's pretty amazing, right? Now, keep in mind that the Torah is only GPS. GPS, why do I need to know the count? Now, before we get to that, look at Bamidbar 1, Pasuk Yud Daled. The prince of Shevet Gad, his name was Ben Deuel. Yitzchak, you see that? Bamidbar 1:14, the prince of Shevet Gad, Eliasaph Ben Deuel, not Ben Cartwright, but Ben Deuel. So here he's called Yitzchak Ben Deuel. Now, if you go later on, if you take a look at Bamidbar 2, verse 14, Mendel, you can check me, that same prince is called Ben Reuel. Why over here is the prince of Shevet Gad called Eliasaph Ben Deuel? But later on, you see that Yitzchak in Bamidbar 2, verse 14, Umate Gad, Benasir Gad, Eliasaph Ben Reuel.
Wasn't that
It's not a typo. Chas v'sholom, come on. Yitzchak, it's not a typo. And why should I care whether he was called Ben Deuel Nechama, whether it's called Ben Reuel? Why should I care for the year 2019? The Torah only tells me, Malk, I need to know for the year 2019. You hear the question? You're sitting down, right?
sort of?
What does Ben Deuel mean? What does Deuel mean? To know God. What does Reuel mean? To love God. Reyut. Reyut. Reya. To know Him is to love Him. I will not give up my day job, Yitzchak. I don't care what you say. Oh, I take the show on the road, right? Deuel. You hear this? David, once you know God, Reuel, then you become God's friend and lover. To know Him is to love Him. Written by, what's his name? Phil Sprecher, not Phil Sprecher, written by Phil Sprecher in 1958. Sprecher, not Sprecher. He wrote it about his dad.
That song?
He wrote that song about his dad.
Oh, his dad got so
But he really wrote it about all of our dad. Wow. Isn't it amazing? Deuel, to know God, and then it's Reuel, and then it's what? You become God's friend and lover. To know Him is to love Him. Now let's take a look at the census over here. Bamidbar 1, verse 36 and verse 38. Why should I care how many Jews there were 3,330 years ago? Why should I care? Bamidbar 1:36. The tribe of Benjamin. You see that? The tribe of Benjamin. How many did he have in verse 37, Yitzchak? Bamidbar 1, verse 37. How many were there in the tribe of Benjamin? 35,000. Thank you. Right, in verse 38, Dan. How many did Dan have in verse 39? 62,000. Now, Benjamin was the youngest brother. Dan was one of the older brothers. Why are they placed next door to each other? All the others are given in order of their birth. The Torah here puts Benjamin, the youngest bro, next to Dan, one of the older brothers, which is out of sequence. And why should I care how many they were? You don't fasten your seatbelts for this. Benjamin, if you look in Parshas Vayigash, the family's coming down. You got the coming down to Cairo, right? Yosef sent wagons, Paro sent wagons. Benjamin had 10 sons. Dan had one son who was born deaf and dumb. Cushim was his name. Now, can you imagine how Dan must have felt? My kid brother with the runny nose, he has 10 healthy sons. And he, and one of the older brothers, one kid who was deaf and dumb. Is that fair? You think it didn't bother him, Daniel? Must have bothered him. God, what are you doing? Little did he know, Daniel, that in 250 years later, how long were they in Egypt? They were in Egypt 210 years, right? So this is what? After 211 years, the second year of Exodus. Little did he know that 211 years later, Benjamin's 10 sons would give him how many great-grandchildren? 35,000. Done from the one sick kid had 60, how many? 62,000.
He wasn't so dumb.
He wasn't so dumb.
He wasn't dumb means that he didn't speak.
Deaf and dumb.
But you see,
He must have taken a lot of Viagra. But what's the message over here, David? God has a plan, Yaakov. We don't know. You know, Dunn didn't know that 211 years ago, he felt bad. You know, one sick kid, my youngest brother, 10 healthy kids. He didn't know that 211 years later, Mendel's 211 years later, right? Because they're in Egypt 210. This is the year after the Exodus. So Dunn's sick child would give him 62,000 great-grandchildren from one sick boy. And Benji's 10 healthy sons only gave him 35,000 grandchildren. What is the message? You never know, and there is a plan. We don't know. We're here such a short time, Yaakov. Dunn didn't know that in 211 years, he wasn't around no more, that his sick child would give him many, many more grandchildren than his kid's brother's 10 healthy children. We never know, Chava. There is a plan. Things are always going according to plan, Yitzchak. Not my plan. His plan. His plan. What a message. Otherwise, why is that important to what? To tell me how many they had, and why put Benjamin, the youngest bro, next to Don, one of the oldest kids, when all the other brothers are given what? In chronological order. What a message. Daniel, you getting this? You're getting this, right? Pretty amazing, huh? Now, you ever wonder why there's no Chabad house on Har Sinai? You ever wonder why, Yaakov? I'm not joking.
Yes.
Where did it all begin? Mount Sinai. Deuteronomy 5 says God spoke to us face to face. Revelation, millions of people, God spoke to us, and we saw Him. So how come there's no Chabad house there? And we don't even know where it is. We should have shuas. Don't go to Kibbutz Levi. Tell Rabbi Wine, let's go to Har Sinai, where it all began.
Yeah.
The accommodations aren't so good.
Yeah.
Build a 6-star hotel on Mount Sinai where it all began.
Right.
Panim bepanim, Dibur Hashem imachem bahar v'toka. Panim bepanim. Deuteronomy 5. What does that mean? Panim bepanim, Dibur Hashem imachem bahar v'toka eish.
we don't know where it is.
We don't even care where it is.
We
We don't even care. Isn't that strange?
We don't know where it is.
Isn't that bizarre? And Mount Moriah, Har Habayis, is just as holy today as it ever was. Even though God never revealed Himself in all of His glory in Mount Moriah, the temple was there, but there wasn't open Gilu Shechina like there was in Har Sinai. So how come Har Sinai, no Kiddusha, we don't even care where it is, and Mount Moriah is just as holy today as ever? What is the difference between the two mountains? A tale of two mountains, David. Tale of two mountains? Sunday we have a tale of two cities. Sunday at 2 o'clock, you have a special Yom Yerushalayim Shir Yitzchak. Sunday at 2, in honor of Yom Yerushalayim, it's called the Tale of Two Cities. But now we'll talk about the Tale of Two Mountains. Why? So to answer this, Rav Soloveitchik points to an amazing Rashi. You know, the deepest secrets of the Torah, said the Chofetz Chaim, are contained, Chava, in Rashi and Chumash. Judaism is based on this principle Rashi teaches us. In Bamidbar 3, verse 16. Yitzchak, you want to read that maybe in English? Bamidbar 3, verse 16. It says, Moshe counted the Levites by the mouth of God. Bamidbar 3:16. Am I right? The English added that? No?
According to the word of Hashem, as he had been commanded. Moses counted them according to the word of Hashem.
No, it says by the mouth of God. You see, you can't trust the English. It said, Vayifkod also Moshe al pi Hashem. Moses counted the Levites by the mouth of God. So Rashi said, Daniel, I'm confused. If Moses counted them, what's by the mouth of God? Who counted them, Moses or God? I'm confused. Says Rashi, fasten your seatbelts. Listen to amazing Rashi. Al pi Hashem, Omer Moshe b'nei Hashem. Moshe said to God, I got a bone to pick with you. Moshe is supposed to count the Levite babies from 1 month. God says, go into the tents and count the Levite babies. Moshe says, how can I go in to count the baby Levites? Maybe Mrs. Levy doesn't have her sheitel on. And maybe she's nursing the triplets. God, I can't. Or the twins. See, Moshe is very religious. God says, go in there and count the Levite babies. Moshe is very frum, It's only more religious than God. But Rashi said, Moshe said, I can't go in there. Mrs. Levy doesn't have her tichel on. Or she's nursing the babies. So God says, you're right. Listen to this amazing Rashi. Omaloi Hashem, asay ata shelecha v'niyasa sheli. You do yours, and I will do mine. Moshe went, and he stood on the tent of all the Levites. And he rang the bell. Ding dong. He didn't go in, because Mr. Levi might be nursing. Who went in? The Shekhinah. The Shekhinah went in, and a heavenly voice came out from the tent and says, in this tent, there are X amount of babies under a month old. Maybe triplets or quadruplets. They're having 4 at a time. Right? Therefore it says, Moses counted them by the mouth of God. Now I'm confused, Yitzchak. Moshe was an old man. He was 80 years old. There was no golf carts in those days. Why did God make him traipse around the 22,000 Levites, how many hundreds of tents, going from tent to tent, when he couldn't go in anyway? Who did the counting? The Shekhinah announced. So why bother Moses? Let him stay in his office and God will give him the count. Beautiful. God, Judaism teaches, only when you do yours, only when you do your best, only then will God do the rest. Shall I repeat that? Rashi says, only when you do your best, says God, only then will I do the rest. If Moses would have sat in his office and waited for God to give him the count to the Levites, Yisrael Baruch, nothing. Moshe had to schlep from tent to tent, even though he couldn't go in. Right? It's not tznius. He's very frum. But if he wouldn't have schlepped from tent to tent and rang the bell, and who went in? Hashem went in. Because a father can see a daughter, even though she's not dressed. A father can see a daughter when she's nursing. Hashem is a father. So God, Kaviyochel, went in, says Rashi, and he said, X amount of Levites, Moses, take out your pinkas. Is that what's called in Hebrew? Right.
It's even better. This is the Shekhinah. She's female anyway.
The Shekhinah went in. The Shekhinah mekademes lefanav, and the heavenly voice says, Kach v'kach tinokot, yes, boy lazeh. So what an amazing message, Yitzchak. This world is a partnership. God says, you guys got to be my partner. Otherwise, it ain't going to happen. So with this, Rashi, the great Vasalvechi, gives the answer. Har Sinai, we didn't partner with him. It was all God. There was no input on our part. We went, God spoke the 10 Commandments. What do you do when the show is over, Chava? And the curtain goes up. What do? You go home. God spoke, tremendous sound and light show, tremendous experience, but there was no partnership on our part, no input. And therefore, Har Sinai has no kiddush at all, because it was not partnered with us and God. It was all him. No input on our part. How do you say in English, in Hebrew, easy come, easy go? But, says the great Baal Soloveitchik, Mount Moriah, we partnered with him in a big way. Akedat Yitzchak. The Akedat Yitzchak, the Mesiras Nefesh of the Akedah. Therefore, Mount Moriah is as holy as ever. Because when we and God so happy together, it has more value, more Kedusha. So Mount Moriah just as holy today, because we and God did it together. How do you say Mesiras Nefesh in English?
Devotion.
Devotion of the Akedah, our input, our effort, sanctified Mount Moriah forever. Mount Sinai, no Kedusha anymore, because once God left, since there was no partnering with our side, so once God left, we don't even care where it is. That's why there's no Chabad house on Mount Sinai. That's why you're going to Kibbutz Levi for Shavuos, so you're not going, what? To Har Sinai. No effort, no input on our part. And the great Baal Soloveitchik takes this idea further. The Exodus from Egypt, Kava. 10 great miracles, the plagues. The Jews left. Why didn't we sing Shir on Exodus night? The 10 plagues. Each plague, God turned nature topsy-turvy. The greatest of all, of what? Killing of the firstborn. The Jews left silently. Why didn't we sing Shira? Why did we wait a week to sing Shira? Cat got your tongue? Huh?
Hashem's creations are dying.
Why did we wait a week to sing Shira?
We were in awe. We were in such
Says the great Baal Soloveitchik, the same idea. The Exodus from Egypt, the 10 plagues, was all orchestrated by God. We did not partner with him. We were memtesh shari tumah. He did it all for us. A welfare check, a handout. We felt like a nevish. You keep getting welfare checks, you don't feel good about yourself. So we couldn't sing Shirah because we had no partnership in the Exodus. A week later, at the splitting of the Red Sea, who split the Red Sea? A partnership. If Nachshon and Shevet Yehuda would not have jumped in, Yitzchak, no tiki, no washi, the Red Sea never would have split. So for the awesome privilege of helping God to split the Red Sea, because if Nachshon and Yehuda would not have jumped in, the sea would not have split. For that privilege, so happy together, then we sang Shira. Isn't that incredible? I would think the opposite, Chava, when God does it all, bigger praise. Baal Soloveitchik says no. When we partner with him for the awesome privilege to be his partner in Tikkun Olam, that deserves a Shira. That only happened a week after the Exodus. But the Exodus itself, we were on 49 levels of Tumah, Daniel. No input, no effort on our part. So therefore we didn't sing. We felt like a, how do you say a nebish in English? Welfare recipient. Pitiful, right? What an amazing idea, Al Pi Hashem. Let's look at the Haftorah and see how the Haftorah ties in Yitzchak to current events. I don't know what page it is in your book. Yudah, what's the Haftorah?
Haftorah is for this.
Mindel, you take the Haftorah. It's important to look inside, otherwise you might think I'm hallucinating.
No.
I don't want you to think that.
No.
What page is the Haftorah? Bamidbar. 1180 from the book of Hosea. The book of Hosea. One of the great prophets of Israel. Now, how does it fit in to what the Parsha? Well, the Parsha speaks about a census, right? 600,000 Jews. But the prophet says, Yitzchak, when Mashiach comes, Hosea 2, verse 1, what does he say?
Number of the children of Israel shall be like the sand of the sea, which can neither be measured nor counted.
So now, in the Parsha, there's 600,000. But when Mashiach comes, there'll be so many Jews like the sand grains of the sea. There'll be a population of explosion of Jews. The highest birth rate in the Middle East is where? I think in the whole world, here. Baruch Hashem. It's happening. We just have to open our eyes. Now look what Pasuk 2, Yitzchak, look at Pasuk 2. Go ahead.
The children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be assembled together, and they shall appoint for themselves a single leader.
Who's the single leader? Melech HaMashiach, says the Radak. The Melech HaMashiach is a single leader. And they will come up from the land. Which land? Las Vegas, California. And then they'll come back to Israel. Ki Godol Yom Yisrael. Great is the day of what? How do they translate that? Great is the day of what, Yitzchak? What is that?
Jezreel?
It says Yisrael. What does Yisrael mean? What does Yisrael mean? To plant seeds. El. Yisrael. God will plant us back in the land. Isn't it happening? How could you stay in Chutz La'aretz? Look at the land of Israel. It's blooming and blossoming. I live in Pisgat Zev. Before 1973, it looked like a moonscape. When the peace partners had it, it looked like a barren moonscape. Since we got it, it's a blooming Gan Eden.
Greatest miracle in 2,000 years.
Yisrael, how could you remain in Shmutz La'aretz? How could you remain in Flatbush? I don't understand. Yisrael, God will plant us back in the land, but he said this 2,800 years ago. How did he know? Gee whiz. He's talking about our time. See, people make a mistake. Yitzchak. Gemara Megillah said there were millions of prophets. People say there are no prophets today. Wrong. The Gemara Megillah said there were millions of prophets. How come only 48 are recorded? Because those millions, they spoke for their time. It doesn't interest me. But the 48 that are in Tanakh are speaking to today. Yisrael, when he said this, what's he talking about?
That
God will plant. Because when he said this, the Jews were not in exile. They were living in the temple, were standing. What do you mean God will plant you back in the land? It's talking about our time. The tremendous achievements. Yom Yerushalayim was around the corner. The tremendous how the land is blooming and blossoming and booming in high tech, low tech, you name it.
And children.
And children, Baruch Hashem, Yisrael, God will plant you.
Right.
What a prophecy. What a prophecy. Right before Chag Matan Torah. Now look what he says in verse 16. Yitzchak, I don't want to read it because you might think I'm hallucinating. You may read it in English. This is God speaking to us through the mouth of Hosea what's going to take place when Mashiach comes. And we're very close.
Therefore, behold,
What?
Therefore, behold, I shall seduce her,
Seduce her?
lead her to the wilderness and speak to her heart.
Who's her? Nechama, who's her? Us! God, this Matan Torah is the Chasana. God is the Chatan, and we are what? The Kala. So God tells the prophet, when Mashiach comes, I will what? Seduce her. Us, God will take us back to the Midbar to woo us again. Woo us or court us again. That's what he says here. The Dibarti Aliban, I will speak on her heart. God is going to kuchi, lovey-dovey. Isn't that what he says over here? He'll take us back for the honeymoon, back to the Midbar, back to the future.
Give us wine to get
It's pretty amazing.
Give us wine to get his
Now look what he says, 18. There are two ways to say my husband in Hebrew. Ask any Ulpan teacher. You can say Bali or Ishi. Now even secular women, they use the word Bali Oved bi Misfad HaChinuch, Bali Oved b'Red Chashmal. They keep saying Bali, Bali. Bali means my master. But there's a more lovey term for husband called Ishi. Even in modern Hebrew. So God says, when Mashiach comes, you will not call me Bali, but Ishi. What does Ishi mean? Lovey-dovey hubby.
It's more intimate.
Ishi means lovey-dovey hubby. You know what I just said? That's what Ishi means. God says, now I'm Bali. Now I'm your husband. Bali, Oved b'misfadach, Bali, Oved Shama, Bali, Hulo b'bayit. Keep saying Bali, even secular women. Bali means my master. Ishi, my lovey-dovey hubby. God says, bring back the good old days. Wow. And that day when Mashiach comes, how do they translate that in English? Can you read that in English? 18.
18. That day when Mashiach comes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the line.
18, 18.
Beginning of the paragraph on the
Oh,
first
it shall
page.
be on that day the words of Hashem. God, you will call me my husband, and you will no longer call me my master.
But the word Bali also means hubby. Ask any Opan teacher.
Baal.
Bali, you know Hebrew better than me. Bali, Bali.
My master too.
But it means my hubby too.
Yeah,
But not as lovey-dovey as Ishi.
right.
Stay tuned. God says, I'm waiting. And look what he says in verse 21. Mendel, verse 21.
I shall marry you to me forever. I shall marry you to me with righteousness and with justice and with kindness and with mercy. I shall marry you to me with fidelity, and you shall know Hashem.
Wow. So right in time for Matan Torah, Yaakov. Matan Torah was the wedding, you know, the mountain, that was the chuppah. So right, Hosea says, God says, I'm going to marry you forever in loving compassion. Forever. Forever. Unlike the first two times, we had a lover's quarrel. I got kicked out twice. God kicked us out of his house twice, no? Lovers do quarrel, you know. But this time, it's no more kicking us out. We are united, reunited, and it feels so good. Varasani Olam. I will marry you forever in righteousness. Why 3 times I will marry you? Ain't once enough? Who said once is enough? David, ain't once enough? Why God says I'll marry you 3 times? When you put on the tefillin, what are you doing, Yitzchak? In the morning, you put on the tefillin, you're quoting this verse. We're putting on God's wedding band every morning. We put on God's wedding band every morning. And we make 3 rings with it, referring to Hosea 3. Why? Ain't once enough.
You marry a person 3 different ways.
So Yehuda Lev said, quoting the Balaturim, the Mishnah Kedushin said there are 3 ways you can marry a woman. Kesef, Shtar, Bia. God loved us so much, Yitzchak, fasten your seatbelts. He loved us so much that he married us all 3 ways. Balaturim, where was the Kesef? The loot we took out of Egypt. That was the Kesef. Where was the Shtar? How do you say shtar in English? The document was the Torah. And the Bia, when God lifted the mountain over our heads. That was the lovey-dovey.
Oh. Whoa. What's a star?
Star, you know Hebrew better than me. Star means a document. There are 3 ways you can marry a woman. Look in the first Mishnah in Kedushin. Kesef, that's the loot we took out of Egypt. Shtar, the document is the Torah. And the Bia was when God put the mountain over our heads, me and you and me. Right? Right?
Oh, really?
Isn't that incredible? That's just amazing. Huh? Are you getting this?
Yeah.
Now, let's get Kabbalistic here. I'm over 40. We can talk. Anybody here under 40?
I'm 26.
Let's get Kabbalistic over here, Yaakov, okay?
18.
Okay.
I'm 4.
We said Nasa v'Nishma, didn't we?
We did.
We'll take it. So why did God have to perform a shotgun wedding? Remember, you from Virginia?
That's true.
Virginia, the shotgun wedding. Anybody from Virginia? You know. Daniel, we said Nasa v'Nishma. I do. So why did God have to force us with a mountain over our heads when we said I do?
Talk about pain.
Because he knew we loved him so much.
But why force us? We said, sweetheart, I do, Nasa v'Nishma. Why force us? Says the morale, Pik Kabbalah. This is, God follows his own Torah. Magi Devorav Yaakov Chukap Mishpatav Yisrael. We say every morning the Hallelujah, Yitzchak, that God follows his own Torah. There's a law in the Torah in Parshat Kiteitzei. Please hear me well. If someone forces a woman to be with him, And she looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. Remember? And he looks like Robert Redford in his prime. Still pretty good looking. But not 50 years ago. He was some dreamboat. Get the picture?
Yeah.
Someone, Robert Redford in his prime, forces the Wicked Witch of the West to be with him.
Why?
Against... He's having a bad hair day. He's having a bad hair day.
He's a man.
All right.
Exactly.
Now, the halacha is, Yitzchak, if she doesn't want to remain married to him, she sues the pants off of him. Nezek, Sar, she takes him to the cleaners. But if she wants, because he's Robert Redford, and she looks like the Wicked Witch of the East. If she wants, he can never divorce her. No matter how disgusting and ugly. Remember the Wicked Witch? Remember that? Dorothy, oh, I'm melting. I'm welting.
Yeah.
No matter how ugly she is, if she wants him, he could never, ever divorce her. Parshas Kiteitzei, open pasuk in the Torah. Says the Maral Miprag. You're sitting down, right? God knew we're going to get pretty ugly with sin throughout the centuries. He'll be tempted to divorce us. He did an act of coercion. I'm stuck on you. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
What's your name, sir? What's your name?
Levi.
Levi. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
So God did an act of coercion, and he follows his own Torah. So no matter how ugly we get and disgusting, he's stuck with us forever. Who loves you, baby? How much he loves us. Moral Prague gives this interpretation of why God had to force us, even though we said what? I do. Isn't that an amazing idea?
What about the Holocaust?
What about the Holocaust? What about the Holocaust? Right?
That's a Devarim. Chapter 28.
Okay, you asked me? I got to tell you. Okay? No. The man asked, Yitzchak asked. He asked, I got to tell him. The man asked, I got to tell him. Hafochba v'afochba de kuloba. You know what that means? The Mishnah Ovos. Everything and everything, just keep turning it over. Everything about everything is where? You just have to know what? Where to look. You have to know where to look. Okay? So let's do some looking here. Okay? The Holocaust. We go to Devarim 29, verse 28. Now, Kabbalists tell us, Yitzchak, that every verse in the Torah, corresponds to a calendar year of world history. There are 5,845 verses in the Torah.
Calendar.
Every verse in the Torah, according to Kabbalah, corresponds to a calendar year on world history. Mashiach has to come before the year 5805. Because you know why? Because we run out of verses. So stay healthy, take your spirulina, do your exercise. How many years to go? 5845 verses in the Chumash. I said that. Now 5779. How many is 60 something? Not so good in math.
45 plus 21.
Is how much?
66.
66 years.
That's all.
Mashiach has to come because we run out of every verse in the Torah corresponds to a calendar year. You run out of verses. Mashiach has to come. We speak about 6,000. We round it off. 5845. Okay. If you count from Bereshis 1:1, the 5705 verse in the Torah. Remember, every verse in the Chumash corresponds to a calendar year. The 5705 verse in the Torah, which is a secular year in 1945, when all the horrors of the Holocaust were revealed, and people said, why? What does God answer? Yitzchak, read what he answers. Deuteronomy 29:28. Levi, you ain't got it? What page is it? What?
Top of page 1091.
1091. Verse 28. Nobody? Nobody
The
knows.
sins are Hashem, our God, but the revealed sins are for us and our children.
It doesn't say sins. You see, you can't trust the English. It's terrible, terrible. Hanistoros Hashem Eloheinu doesn't say sins. The hidden matters, only God knows. It's a nistar. Why the Holocaust happened, that's a nistar, only He knows. English word, mystery. Nistoros, look at the Hebrew, Yitzchak. Forget the English. Hanistoros Hashem Eloheinu. That's hidden. That's a mystery. Only God knows why the Holocaust happens. But what's revealed to us, despite the Holocaust, we have to continue. Lasot eskol divrat Torah zois. Levi, isn't that amazing? Without any Bible codes, the rabbis are called sofrim. What does a sofrim mean? To count. You're right, the sofrim means, or scribing means to count. The rabbis, they count, sofrim. The 50, so you get home, Yitzchak, you count. You see, it's the 5705 verse from Genesis 1:1, which corresponds to the year 1945, when the horrors of the Holocaust were revealed. Why? God said it's nistar, English word mystery. Only He knows. But that doesn't change the fact that we must continue lasot, that's called divrat Torah zos.
And not say Berlin is
But that's not
Jerusalem.
an answer.
The answer is only He knows.
But that's not an answer.
That's what He told Job. Job asked Him, why are you doing this to me? So what did God say? You can't understand. While we're trapped in our bodysuit, we can't understand. It's like trying to describe sunrise, sunset to a person that's born blind, says Nachmanides. No matter how many words you say, the beautiful sunrise and sunset to a person born blind, he won't know what you're talking about. While we're trapped in our bodysuit, it won't make sense. Only when after 120, then we can see the sunrise and the sunset as well. But now it's nistar. But that doesn't change the fact that we must continue to observe all the mitzvot. Now, I gave you the secret, Yitzchak. Count 3 verses down. That's verse 3. Deuteronomy 30, verse 3. So that's the 5708 verse in the Chumash. Right? 5708 verse in the Chumash. What does it say there? Go ahead, can you read 3? Go ahead.
Then Hashem your God will bring back your captivity, have mercy on you, He will return and gather you in from all peoples in which Hashem your God is scattered.
What's amazing about that verse? That's the 5708 verse in the Chumash, which corresponds to what? A Jewish state in 48. 5708 is the year 5708, which is a Jewish state in 48. So how did God predict this 3,330 years ago? Hashem will bring back your captivity and have mercy on you. And He Himself will return and gather you from all the nations. That process began in the year 5708, which is a Jewish state in 48. How did God know this 3,330 years ago? How would He? Coinky dinky? Yaakov, come on. Count. Ruth, right?
Ruthie.
Count, Ruthie, count. This is the 5708 verse in the Torah. And it says exactly what took place in the year 5708. God will bring you back and He Himself will return from all the corners of the world. Jews came from all over in 1948, which is 5708. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
Everything is in the Torah. And Abraham was born in the year 1948. The first Jew was born in the year 1948, and the Jewish state in 48. Could be a coinky dinky? Could it be?
No.
Rav Soloveitchik said that the UN vote in 48 was an open miracle. A great miracle. How else could Russia and the United States, at the height of the Cold War, how could they vote for the state of Israel? It was insane. Nobody believed it. Russia and the U.S. were bitter enemies in 48. And yet they both voted for the state of Israel. Said Rav Soloveitchik, that was a nes nigla. Unbelievable. Didn't make any sense. The two bitter enemies should both vote for the faith. And the way Gromyko gave a speech, this anti-Semitic, vicious Gromyko, you can hear it on how he spoke of compassion about the Jewish people. They deserve a homeland. It was like God was controlling his mouth. It's unbelievable. Gromyko, the ambassador of Russia. People were freaking out. This is Gromyko talking. They couldn't believe it. You gotta be blind. They're none so blind who will not see.
Those who refuse.
But some people say, don't confuse me with the facts, because my mind is made up. That's what they say. The Torah dozens of times keeps praising Israel as a land flowing with milk and honey. Chalav advash, chalav advash. I like the avocados here, Levi. I like the oranges too. So why can't you at least praise Israel once with oranges and avocados? Over and over again, the Torah limits her praise to Pisgat Zev. To Eretz Yisrael. Where do you live, Levi? Ebrek Rufayim. To Chalav advash. What's wrong with the Eshkoliot over here? How do you say that in English? What's wrong with the grapefruits? What's wrong with the oranges and what? Tapuzim and the avocados. Not even once. Why chalav advash over and over? You don't fasten your seatbelts for this, lady. You fall off you. You can Google it. The Israeli cow gives more milk per cow than any cow on planet Earth. I'll repeat that, lady. The Israeli cow, it's on Google, you know it's true. The Israeli cow gives more cow per milk.
Gives more milk per cow.
I'm seeing anybody still awake. I'm testing you. This is only a test, lady. I woke somebody up. Where was I? Gives more milk per cow than any cow in the world. The Israeli date palm tree gives more dates and honey per tree than any date palm tree in the world.
Wow.
If it's on Google, you can believe it. You Google it, get a home, Levi. Oranges and avocados and grapefruits, maybe you have more in sunny California. So God is not going to use that. He's only going to use the praises that we are unique for. But how did he know that 3,330 years ago before Google? So chalav advash, before Google, how did God know that? You got to be blind not to see how every word of the Torah is written by God. It's unbelievable. Chalav advash, milk and honey, because the other goodies you have may be better in New Jersey, but not milk and honey. You know, a cow goes moo, but an Israeli cow goes no. Israeli cow, right, Daniel? No. Chalav advash. So Yom Yerushalayim is coming up. On Sunday, we should say Hallel with great simcha and have a bracha and a sudat mitzvah. Eze miracles. Yom Yerushalayim. What kind of miracles Hashem did for us. It's amazing that the first Rashi in Chumash, we still have 5 minutes, alludes to the first Rashi in Chumash, alludes to Yom Yerushalayim, Levi. I'm not making this up. Yom Yerushalayim took place Koach Iyar, 28th day of Iyar. The first Rashi in Chumash says, why does the Torah begin with Bereshit? Parsha began with mitzvot. Why begin with Bereshit? So Rashi quotes a pasuk in Tehillim, Koach Masav Higid La'amo. The awesome power of his deeds, God wanted to tell his people. Koach, 28th day of Iyar. The awesome power that God displayed for us. Little Israel, 2 million people, against 7 mighty armies of Arabs. We're outnumbered. If they spit on us, we would have drowned. If the Arabs would have spit on us, we would have drowned in the spit. Asian miracles. Koach Masav. The first Rashi, Levi. Koach Iyar. God displayed, Rashi quotes Tehillim 111, Koach Masav Higid La'amo. His awesome power, he wanted to show us. Isn't that incredible? Koach. God displayed his koach on Koach Yar. Koinky dinky, first Rashi in Chumash. If you want to hear more, Sunday 2 o'clock, a tale of two cities, Levi. A tale, the earthly Jerusalem and the heavenly Jerusalem. Therefore, Yushalayim. It's always written Jerusalem. Why is it called Yushalayim? Because the Yud Mem in Hebrew makes it what? Plural. Shein, Shinayim. Yad, Yedayim. Regel, Raglayim. Ayin, and Ayim. Yushalayim. The Gemara says there's a heavenly Jerusalem and there's an earthly Jerusalem. So we'll talk about a tale of two cities, Met Hashem, on Sunday. Hope to see you at 2 o'clock.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.